out, before we get started in your video recap series for InDesign, let's just take a look at some of the fundamentals in bringing in shapes and images and text into a new document. So to start off with, we'll look at how to place an image. Usually with images, we draw a frame for them first. So I'll jump across to the frame tool that we use for our images, which is this one here on the toolbar, rectangular frame tool. And starting in the margin here in the corner, I'm just going to drag out a frame for this first photo. It's got the cross running through it, so I know I've got the right frame selected. And I'll come up to my file menu and place, or do my Control or Command D to place. And I'm going to come down and grab this image here, hotel image. I can just double click on it to drop it in. Okay, so it drops in. It's a little bit larger than the frame that I've drawn. So what I can do to get that to fit is I can right click on the image there, come down to my fitting options from here, and my first option is to fill the frame proportionally. So I'll do that. So that basically fits the image to all four sides of my frame. The other option that I have there by right clicking under fitting is to fit the content proportionally, and that will actually put the whole image inside of the frame, but we can see that I've got a little bit of space now on the left and right hand side because that photo is a slightly different aspect ratio to the frame that I drew. I could also right click on that, go down to fitting, and I can also choose to fit the frame to the content. So that'll just contract the frame so it now sits perfectly around my image. We've also got those same shortcut buttons up here in the control panel. Fill frame proportionally, fit content proportionally, and the fit frame to content. Okay, so I'll just Command click off to the side there to deselect, and I'll bring an image in again, but this time when I bring the image in, I won't draw a frame first. I'll just use my shortcut Command D to place, and I'll navigate to another image. Okay, so I'll grab this image here, double click on that, and then come up to the top margin here. And what I'm going to do, I'm getting a little preview of the image in here. Rather than clicking and releasing on the page, which pretty much just drops the image in at the full size, I'll just undo that, do my Command or Control Z to undo to put it back in the cursor. And to give myself more control over how this comes in, I'm going to click and hold down, and then I'm just going to drag this out, and I can pretty much drag it to whatever size I need that image to be. So I'll bring it to there, and we've now got our image in and a frame perfectly fitting around that image. I could crop that image if I only wanted one of those chairs in there. What I could do is grab my selection tool now from the toolbar. And as you know, we've got two frames that we have to contend with when it comes to our images. We've got the frame that runs around the outside of the image, and then you've got the actual image frame itself. So when you click on this little donut shape and hold down, you'll see the frame changes color to this brown color. And that's when we want to reposition the photo inside of the blue frame. But that's not what I want to do in this case, so I'll just click off to the side here and come back and click around here to select the blue frame, and I actually just want to crop this, so I'm going to drag that in from the right and then this one in from the left, so that I've now just got the photo of the one chair and the rest of the photo is cropped. If I come back to my little donut shape again, I can click and hold down, and we can see that I could swap and change between chairs if I wanted to, just by dragging that image left or right when I click on the donut. The last image I'll bring in will be a logo, so I won't create a frame for that, and I'll just use my Command or Control D to place, and I'll just grab this logo here, and clicking on the page and just dragging that one out to the size that I want that to be. And with resizing this, I'll just come to the lower right hand corner, holding down Shift and Command or Control on PC. I can then drag that out, and I'm able to scale that image just by holding those two keys down, Shift and Control or Command. Great, so that's some fundamentals around our images. Let's create a new page to look at working with blocks of color with some vector shapes. So coming across to my Pages panel, I'm going to come down here and just quickly add a new page to the document with the Pages button at the bottom. And then I'll move across and I'll grab the rectangle tool that I've got here. So coming onto the page, I will now click and drag to draw a rectangle. And that rectangle, if I have a look at my fill and my stroke at the moment, there's actually no fill or stroke on. So what I'll need to do is go to my swatches panel to bring that up. So I'll come across, grab my swatches panel, and out here we've got our options for fill and stroke. So I'm just going to have my fill sitting in front there. I'll give it a blue fill, and then I'll come to the stroke options and I'll give it a magenta stroke. I will thicken that stroke up just so that we can see it. Up here in the control panel, there we go, nice thick stroke. If I wanted to make a copy of that rectangle, I'll come across, I'll grab the selection tool, and holding down Alt or Option on a Mac, I can drag that rectangle across to create a copy. So that's how we can quickly duplicate. Now if I wanted to select both of these rectangles, then I would hold down the Shift key and click on the first rectangle, and so now they're both selected and I can move them around or edit them together. If I wanted to keep them together, I could also group them, and I can do that through a Command or Control G on the keyboard. And I know that it's a group because it's now got this dashed line running around the outside of those shapes. So as well as rectangles, we can also do squares with this same tool. If I just come down here and hold down Shift as I drag that out, I'll create a square, and then I'll just come up and add a fill from the control panel. And then underneath that tool, we've also got our ellipse tool. So I can just come onto the page, and by holding Shift, I can create a perfect circle there and give that a fill color. And then I've also got my polygon tool, and I can click and release on the page with polygon to check whether or not I've got a star inset. If I want to create a star, I could put a 50% in there and click OK, and it now draws a star on the page. Come up here and I'll fill that with a color. Great, so now if I wanted to change the arrangement of these on the page, you'll notice that if I drag these around, the star will actually sit above everything else on the page, and that's because it's the most recently drawn object. I can send that behind other objects just by right-clicking on that object, going down to Arrange, and then sending it to the back, which puts it behind everything on the page. If I come and right-click on that again, Arrange, I can bring it to the front. Bring it forward, we'll bring it forward one object at a time, so it's good if you want to put it between objects, but to bring it all the way to the front, I go to Arrange and Bring to Front. So we do have that stacking order there, which is important because it determines where objects sit in relation to one another. If I wanted to select all of these shapes on the page, I could come out to the side with my selection tool now and click and drag a marquee over all of them, and then just move them around as a block. And once again, I could use Command or Control G to group, and now if I click off and come back and click on one of them, they're all selected. I can ungroup them by holding down Shift and Command or Control G to release them from one another, and we're back to individual items. Great, so that's a bit about our vector shapes, and lastly we've just got our type tool, so I'll jump across to my Pages panel again, and using the New Page button at the bottom of the Pages panel, give myself a third page here. And to create text, I'll jump across to the Type tool, or hit T on the keyboard to activate the Type tool, and just click and drag out to create a text frame. I can just start typing directly in there, or I can copy and paste text across from the Word document. Now, in terms of adding text, when you don't have any to add and no copy at the moment, you can add some placeholder text. I can come up to the Type menu and then just come down and fill this text frame with some placeholder text. You can see that I've got my spelling on at the moment, my spell check, because a lot of these lines have got red underlines. I'll just put my cursor in here, hit return to create a new paragraph there. And to check all those hidden characters, I can go up to my Type menu again and come down to Show Hidden Characters, just to reveal where there are returns and spaces and tabs and all that sort of thing. And so when it comes to now formatting my text, I can just use the Type tool to drag across any of the text I want to format. And then I've got all of my character control panels over here on the left, and then my paragraph over here on the right. And I can toggle between the two with these two little buttons here. So I'll just change this text to Myriad Pro Bold instead of regular, and then I'll also increase the point size of that text. I'll make it all caps as well, and under my paragraph settings, I'll just come across here and I'll add a little bit of space after that heading. To change the color of it, I'll just come to the black T that I've got here and then just hit magenta to give myself a magenta heading. Excellent. So that's some basics around formatting our text. To resize the text frame, I can always go back to my selection tool, click on that one, and I can grab the corner here and reduce the size of that text frame if I need to, make it a little bit longer down here. And when I do that, I can see that I do have some overset text. I've got a little red plus sign there saying that I've made the text frame too small for the actual text to sit in. So to reflow that text into a new text frame, I could click on this little exit point here, this little plus, and then come across and create a brand new text frame. Now these two are what we call threaded together, and I can continue to thread text frames on the one page or across multiple pages within a document. And as I move that first frame there, we can see that they're all linked together. Excellent, so that was just a quick run through on some of the foundational skills that you need when you're working with things like images, vector shapes, and text frames. Now we're going to jump in and take a look at how to create a brand new document, along with a whole bunch of other things that we covered in the training. Looking forward to seeing you in the next videos.